I love this hat. It's so appropriate considering the time. And tonight, the Artemis rocket launched today in, I guess, Cape Canaveral, Florida. Today is April 1st. April Fool's Day, ironically. Don't think it's a mistake. It was done on purpose. Because you're a fool if you think they're going to the moon. They're going to go around the earth for 11 days. They're going to land and they're going to say, we went to the moon. They're not going to the moon. So, just letting they faked the first moon landing and all the other moon, whatever they did. Come on. They went above and beyond in New Mexico to make it look like they went to the moon. So I don't know where you live or what country you live in, but if you live in America, nothing's changed. America, the government knows nothing but to lie to you. They don't know what the truth is, and they never will. And they hope you never will either, because they put a lot of effort into lying to you and trying to convince you that what they're doing is what they're doing, and they're not doing it. They're not going to the moon. It's not happening. And, you need to look at it in the sense that this has been, I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years, probably longer if you really look into it, but as part of the building effort, probably about 10 years to build the Artemis rockets, and every state has built a spark plug or a washer or something that went into that rocket. It's just more military machine. It's not a weapon in the sense of a missile in that sense, but that blows up. But it's still a weapon. It's a weapon against your mentality, your intelligence, because only stupid people believe we went to the moon today, or we started to go to the moon today. And they'll give you like artist renditions, animations of the capsule. I don't know what they're gonna show. Capsule in the middle of nowhere, going nowhere, and that's exactly what it is. It's nothing going nowhere, and you know, and it's not a conspiracy theory. They want what I'm saying right now. They want to label me as a conspiracy theorist. And the reason they came up with that word, conspiracy theorist, is just to discredit the truth, discredit people that talked about the truth, and make me look crazy. Well, the other one's crazy. It's in a capsule around the Earth for 11 days, and acting like they went to the moon. It's all horseshit. It's all a bunch of horseshit. It's never happened, never gonna happen, and the bottom line is there's too much radiation. Once you get away from the magnetics of the Earth, the radiation is intense. And for a rock or a comet, the radiation doesn't matter. But for a human being, it's called death, instant death. And the amount of lead you would need in that capsule to protect you from the radiation, you could never get the capsule off the ground. So it's just not feasible. It's not possible. It belongs in the movies with Star Trek and Star Wars and whatever other movie you want to say. But that's where it belongs, in the movies, not real life. And yeah, I remember too as a building program of the Artemis. Talking billions of dollars, billions of dollars. People have collected paychecks for the last 10 years just drawing a picture of a missile. They didn't change the design. They didn't reinvent the wheel. I mean, it looks the same thing as Apollo. Maybe a different color or something, but it's the same thing. Over and over, it's the same thing. And they spent billions of dollars on it, and they didn't need to. I mean, we got people homeless in the streets in California and New York, and they're spending $1 billion to light a match. You know, and that's the goal. You know, just to show you how stupid you are. You know, it's just, it's just you you paid for that billions of dollars to go spark. You know, boom. You know, and and then they cut off the food stamp program and they say we have no money. So I don't see where you can line up those two. And you're just too gone to argue with it, fight it. You know, you drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago, and whatever they say goes. That's why he's still in charge. You know, he should have been thrown out of that house on his ass. And you know, you just don't get it. You don't care. You know, it's like, how does it affect my paycheck? And your paycheck is worthless. Your paycheck is worthless. Your paycheck is shackles on your ankle. You know, that's all a paycheck is for you. You know, and if you try to deviate from that, you know, those shackles start to show their teeth. And, you know, don't go to work. See what happens. Yeah, try to pay your rent. Tell your landlord you quit. Yeah, stuff like that. So you can do what you want, but you really can't. You know, that's the thing. You can't do what you want. I can. I can do what I want. I can do anything I want. I don't work. I haven't worked since I was 29. I'm 57, so it's been a long time. I ain't planning to go back to work. You know, they do what they can to try to get me to go back to work. And I tell them, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. And they can't force me to work, so. And I can go play golf. I can go play tennis. I can do whatever I want, and they can't take it away from me. So it's God has set me up in such a way that I'm untouchable. I'm unbeatable, and you know. And this is what happens when you follow God and follow what you know the universe tries to set in your path. You know. A long time ago, I could have said, "No, I'm going to go to work. I'm not going to go on disability. I'm not going to live that life. You know, I want the quote unquote easy life and go to work." Because you think you're working and you think the easy life is going on disability, but it's not so easy to go on disability and not work for all those years. And you know, you give up the wife, you give up the house, you give up the kids, you give up the car. You know, you give up a lot, but when you get those things, you also give up a lot. You give up yourself, you give up your soul. And I wasn't willing to pay that price. I kept my soul. I have my soul. You don't, but I do. And I'm not willing to put a price on my soul like you have. Your paycheck is your price on your soul. And, you know, I realize your answer to me is, well, what do you expect me to do? What do you want me to do? And I don't have an answer for you. But I say do what your heart tells you to do, not what your pocketbook tells you to do. You know, when you have a wife and you have kids, especially when you have kids, and you're kind of forced to do what they want you to do, you know, for the sake of the kids. You know, if you're divorced, they take your money right out of your paycheck, and you don't make a paycheck, they put you in jail and take away your license and screw your life. So you pay that child support, but you know, I didn't have any kids, and I'm not under those restrictions, and you know, and if you are, then you're screwed. And that's what they want you to be. They want you to be screwed because then they own you. And that's what the truth is. They own you. And they're not nice about it. They're not like, oh, we own you. We're going to set you up and have it. Yeah, no. We own you and you're going to work like a robot for us, you know. And you're going to continue to work like a robot for us. And there's nothing going to change that. Every morning you got to get up and go to work, whether you want to or not. Whether you're tired, whether you feel sick, whether your son or daughter is sick, you have to go to work. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. Their answer is go join the homeless people in California on the street. If you don't want to do it, because you won't qualify for disability, so you won't get a disability check. You're screwed. So, and that's what they want. They want to keep you to go to work on Monday. That's why JOB stands for just over broke, because that's what you are. They keep you to go. They pay you enough, so you got to show up on Monday, and you do. So I don't think their system is not working. I think it's wrong. I don't think it's working. And a lot of people say, well, with the gas prices that they are now, people are like, oh, I can't take my son to this, or I can't do that, I can't do this, because I have to spend the money on gas. And that's what they want. That's the whole purpose of money in the first place, is to restrict your ability to do anything. A lot of people don't do anything because they can't afford it, and that's the whole purpose of it. It's like, could you imagine if Disney World was free? The line for the ride would be, miles long, and that's what they're afraid of, and they think that's what they're stopping. Only the people that can afford to go to Disney World go to Disney World. No. Meanwhile, most of the people at Disney World can't afford it. It's too expensive. They're doing it for their kids because their kids are only 5 once, and they want to bring them to Disney World when they're 5, not when they're 15. So people are kind of trapped in that way, and they stick it to you with the price. You don't want to buy a Disney cup at Disney World. It costs you $50. So it's a messed up world we live in. So hopefully they bring back some Martians, right? Maybe they can help us run the world a little better. But no, we're not going to the moon. Don't worry about that. You'll hear the news. The news will tell you we went to the moon. The news will give you the animations and all that. It's the only thing that's going to be real is the splashdown in the Pacific, when they come back 11 days from now, but they didn't go anywhere. Believe me, they didn't go anywhere. So, and they'll have pictures, but they have satellites that can take those pictures, and they have ways of taking those pictures without sending a capsule. That's what they'll do. I told you they fake the moon landings. They had a car on the moon landing. How did they get the car on the moon? How did the car run? They didn't have electric cars back then, and you can't get a gas motor to work in an atmosphere with no oxygen. So I don't know how you got that car to work, or how you even got it there. But that should have been a red flag right there. And the people that studied the video said the dust that came off the tires of that car didn't act proper in a zero gravity environment. The dust should have clouded up the whole scene, and it didn't. So, it showed you it's New Mexico, not the new moon. So you keep drinking that Kool-Aid, and like I said, here you go. Yeah, that's you. So, I don't mean to insult you. I'm just trying to wake you up and have a little fun with it at the same time. But whatever. Bye.